For this recipe, we're going to use 2 artichokes. These are like a big size artichoke, and if you can hear that a little bit, you want to squeak the leaves like that when they go back and forth. That means that your artichoke is moist enough. So that's one thing you want to see when you buy them at the store. You want to make sure it's not too brown on the outsides, and of course that little squeaking that goes along with all the petals that are going out. And also be careful going back like here, because they can stick your hand. I'm using a serrated knife. I like to use a serrated knife. It's a little easier to get through the artichoke because it's really tough, or you have to have a really sharp knife. So we're going to saw off our stems first. Stems off, and then I'm going to saw off like a quarter off the top. Saw off a quarter off the top. Put that off to the sides. Then what we're going to do is I'm going to cut all the way down the middle. Some people just boil artichokes straight up, and then of course you break them apart and you can eat the petals. What's going to happen here is we're going to cut it in half. We're going to boil it, and then we're going to take it out and actually stuff it. You see the purple pieces right here? Well, this is really hard right now to take out. If you wanted to, you can take a spoon and take what I call the hairs and take the hairs out, but it's a little bit of a workout. So what we're going to do is we're going to steam them first, basically boil them in a low amount of water, and then they're going to get soft, and then we'll be able to pull the outside. It's a lot easier. Some people like to put lemon juice on it right away so it doesn't brown up, but we're going to cook this pretty fast, so we don't really have to worry about it. And you can see right here, this is your heart. This is the choke part in the middle, and your petals, and then there's the heart right there. That's really the great part to eat. But you can also eat the petals, which we're going to do later. All right, we're going to get started by making our stuffing first before we're going to do the artichokes. We have mushrooms. Wipe our board down. Get all those little hairs off because they're really pretty fibrous. You don't want those. So we have cremini mushrooms. There's about 10 to 15. What I did was I brushed them off a little bit ahead of time. If the stems seem like they have a little of this brown peat on them, you want to take that off, but you can use the stems if they're not too dirty. The peat that mushrooms are grown in is not really high in bacteria, so you don't have to worry about if you don't get every last bit of the brown part off them or the brown peat that it grows in, unless they're like real wild mushrooms. That's a whole different thing. Most mushrooms you're going to buy, obviously, at the store are going to be cultivated. So we're going to chop back and forth and get these all chopped up. It doesn't have to be super fine. You can do it in a food processor, but it might make it a little too fine, so we're just going to go back and forth and do a rough chop. So we have the rough chop on the mushrooms. I already chopped some ahead of time. We're going to put that off to the side. Also, what we have for this is 2 cloves of chopped garlic. And we have, of course, 2 artichokes. We're going to be using a 1/4 cup of olive oil. So we're going to go over to the pan and get that started for our stuffing. So we have a pretty big wide pot here. I have it on medium heat. We're going to add in our 1/4 cup of olive oil. Okay. We are then going to put in our garlic. We'll make sure it's not too hot because you don't want to burn your garlic. You just want it kind of to sweat and to heat up gradually. So there's our garlic, 1/4 cup of olive oil. Stir that around for literally half a minute. Okay. Watch your heat. You don't want to burn the garlic. You want it to sweat and add infused color and flavor into the oil. Just like that. We're next going to put in our mushrooms. Chopped mushrooms are going in. We're going to stir that around. All the mushrooms go in. The mushrooms are going to absorb all your oil. It's okay. There's going to be moisture coming out of the mushrooms as well. Absorbs, and then it puts out moisture. And then the mushrooms start shrinking a bit as they cook down. As the liquid in them evaporates. Stirring that all around. There we go. Okay. Now we're waiting for our mushrooms to get soft. It takes a couple minutes. We're going to add in some salt and also add some pepper. I got my little pepper grinder today. Store-bought pepper grinder. Stir that around. Now, at this point, when you can put some herbs in there, you could put oregano, fresh or dried, or fresh or dried basil as well. But it definitely has enough garlic in there. 2 good-sized cloves of garlic. And you can see how that we're just letting that sweat down for a couple of minutes and for our mushrooms to get soft. We already seasoned it. Just a little bit. I want to taste that, see where we're at with our seasoning on the mushrooms. Okay. Just a little bit more salt and pepper. There we go. Now, we're going to get ready to add our breadcrumbs. We have a half a cup of breadcrumbs going to go in there. Turn down our heat on low, and we're going to stir that around. This is your stuffing. Okay, this is your stuffing that you're putting in. That breadcrumbs are absorbed in with the mushrooms. Okay, doesn't take long. It's like another 2 minutes. See how it's making stuffing consistency, right? To that, we're going to add a tablespoon of Parmesan cheese grated. Okay. We're going to season this one more time because those breadcrumbs, of course, have absorbed some of the salt and liquid. It depends on if you get seasoned breadcrumbs. If you get seasoned breadcrumbs, taste it first as opposed to plain breadcrumbs. Because if you have seasoned breadcrumbs, you don't want to put too much salt and pepper. It'll be too salty. So make sure that you taste this and see where you're at. Tastes great. All right, I'm going to turn this off. We're going to put this off to a side bowl and let it cool down. We're going to use the same pot for our artichokes. Okay, we've taken all our stuffing out. Now we're going to put our artichokes into a big size pot that we had before. Make sure it's enough to fit all 4 slices or halves of your artichoke. We're going to turn our heat on high heat. We're going to fill it at least 3/4 of the way with water. This is about a quart of water, okay? So they're in there floating. Sometimes you'll see with artichoke recipes, they actually add lemon juice right in here in the water. You can add some lemon juice for flavor, but you don't have to. We don't need salt. We're just gonna have that water. We're gonna bring it, we're gonna cover it, and we're gonna bring it to a boil. As you can see, our artichokes have started to boil. We had hot water in there, we covered them. We're gonna continue to cover this, and we're gonna slow it down to a little medium boil, right? And then we're gonna go 15 minutes and check and see how we're doing. All right, it's been 15 minutes. We're gonna check. I have a tongs here. They want to see if where the heart is fork tender and all. It's giving me a little resistance here still. My color's changing a little bit more olive color, but I'm getting a little bit too much resistance. So I want it to be a little bit more tender. So we're gonna go another 10 minutes. Cover that. Let's check it again and see where we're at. Let's take this piece out. You can also use a little knife too to see where you are. Ah, that's nice and tender. See there? That's what we want. Nice and tender right there, so we're gonna take them out. So now I've done about 3 halves. So it's going to be a little warm. You can wait about 10 or 15 minutes for them to cool down. I'm just used to hot stuff on my fingers. But anyway, I'm taking tongs and I'm pulling out the middle. Okay, don't go too crazy. Just go a little at a time as you're pulling it out. Don't go too much. You want to get the inner layer, not all of it. Okay, a little bit more. And then it's where we stop. Okay, that purple, the petals that are really purple, that have color on them, those are the ones you want to take out. The green ones or olive ones, you want to stay. We're stopping right there. So now what we're doing is carefully taking a spoon and taking the middle hair out. See that comes out there? Just be gentle. You can't go too forcefully, otherwise you'll tear the whole artichoke up. That's why it's important not to overcook the artichoke. You have to check it a little at a time to see when you're going to get to fork tender, because you don't want to overcook it. If you overcook it, and if I did that, it would all come apart. You want it to have some form, but you also want the heart here to have tenderness so you can eat it after we're going to stuff it. So there we are. We have our shapes all ready to go. We're going to get ready for our stuffing next. I have a clean spoon. Doesn't have the hairs in them, and then we're going to do a nice stuffing on each one. I love this stuffing, it's really good. Put that all in there. I have it on a sheet tray. We have our oven preheated to 375. 375 is where our oven's on. Stuff all that in there, okay? Do them evenly, you're good, okay? There we go. So we're gonna get that all in there and set that up. We have now our Parmesan cheese we're gonna put on the top, okay? Spread those out. Make sure they're sitting kind of even. We're gonna bake them. Then we're gonna sprinkle our cheese right on the top, best we can. All right, there we go. That is the other, like 2 tablespoons of Parmesan cheese, a little drizzle of olive oil, a little more olive oil. We're gonna drizzle some more afterwards. There we go. And we're gonna bake this in the oven. So our oven's on 375. We're gonna give it about 15 minutes in the oven. All right, 15 minutes. Let's check and see our artichoke. Looking really good. Let's pull that out. These look great. We have our cheese that's melted. We're gonna drizzle just a little more olive oil on the top for some moisture, and they are ready to serve. It's great.